everyone. Welcome to Beyond Life Paranormal Research Missouri's podcast. I'm your host, Russell Reynolds, and I hope everybody had a good Thanksgiving. I'd like to say hello to everybody that's logging in the chat. My guest tonight is a member of BFRO. He was also a consultant on the show Finding Bigfoot. He's got more than 100 Bigfoot sightings reported and published in his books. And without further ado, let me bring him on, Carter Bichette.
Howdy.
Hey, Carter, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. Nobody else will. No,
So
we were neighbors and didn't get to interact a lot. That's kind of how it is at those conferences.
No, yeah.
And when somebody comes up and starts talking to me, it's kind of like, I really need to talk to this lady because they're having issues or something. Same with you.
Right.
I mean, if someone comes up and starts a conversation, you got to go, oh, this is cool. This is interesting.
Yep.
I want to talk to this person,
So for my audience that don't know who you are, tell them a little bit about yourself.
Okay, well, Carter Bichette. I live in Liberty, Missouri. I'm originally from Dallas, Texas. Originally, I'm still a member of BFRO as of today, and I've led 4 public expeditions for them, and I've written 3 books on Sasquatch Evidence of an Enigma 1, 2, and 3. And I did consult on 2 of the Finding Bigfoot TV shows, the one here in Missouri and one in Kansas. Now, most of those, or a good number of those witnesses on those 2 shows I mentioned were some of mine that have published reports. So, but yeah, I've had 100 reports published to BFRO, which is a pretty good number. And it's been a crazy ride. And, I went because the people that got me in the group were ape only. It's strictly a dumb ape. Until I saw something that told me this ain't no dumb ape. I guarantee you it's not just another gorilla running amok in the North American continent. They have esoteric and quantum skills that we just can't fathom. It's not really our fault. We're taught how to think and how to see the world from the day we're born till you're out of high school or college. 22 years, 18 to 22 years, you're told how everything is. And you're too busy learning to have time to experience a lot of this stuff. So when you see something you don't believe, you believe not to exist, well, that can't be. That's got to be a deer or a guy in a ghillie suit or I had a bad tuna sandwich or something that makes you see something that's not there. As you get older and more mature, you realize I did see that, and that was real. And it goes with ghosts, Dogman, Wendigo, Sasquatch, anything, UFO. It goes for anything. You just pigeonhole it because you're told this is how it's supposed to be, and you'll explain it away and go about your day.
Right.
And if you're not curious, like you and I are, you'll blow it off and just go, hey, man, that was kind of odd. I remember that about 10 years ago. But you and I eat, sleep, and drink this stuff,
Yeah.
I know it's real. I mean, it's real to the people. It's real to us because those people are real. And, you've been yanked before. I got people trying to yank me, for hoaxing stuff. And it's like, yeah, I'm sort of embarrassed for them, sort of not, because it's a conscious effort to make you, take the bait for whatever reason, so
right.
bragging rights. I fooled that guy. Oh, Russ fell for that like crazy, man. When are they going to hold this Carter guy, So, but you have to get up a little early to start yanking my chain,
Right. Yeah, we do a lot of that in the paranormal field as well. I mean, we'll have people that pull hoaxes. We worked on one case where a girl was hoaxing like she was possessed to scare her sister. So.
Oh, wow. Now that takes some work.
Yeah, she was a perfect actress. I can tell you that. I mean, she didn't break character one bit.
Wow. She had the whole, oh, yeah, what's her name? Linda Blair down, huh?
Oh yeah, I mean, she was growling. She'd have a stare, but when you show her religious objects, she wouldn't react to them. So that's,
Busted.
yep. We knew she was hoaxing, and then when the cat got up there and the cat was rubbing against her, now she was possessed. The cat wouldn't even get up there.
Oh, hell no.
That cat, he would be terrified.
Yeah. And back in Dallas, before I moved away, my brother uh, was living at my mom's house. And I rehearsed. I was a drummer for 20 years, so I rehearsed because we had a studio. Her two-car garage was turned into a studio. Actually, it was turned into a bedroom, which was turned into my bedroom and a studio. And he had a friend over one night. My brother had a friend over, and I heard all this weird stuff going on, out in the hall. I was in the bathroom at night, and I opened the door, and there's our cat running up and down the walls, hissing, going
Oh,
crazy, just doing all kinds of weird stuff. I'd never seen that. I was going, what is wrong with you? And he ran into the bathroom, started trying to claw me and everything. And
mm-hmm.
so I calmed him down, sent him on down the hall. I went and just opened my brother's bedroom door, and there on the floor, they had a pentagram set up, and they were burning candles and doing spells, and the cat
Ooh,
was picking up on it.
right,
So there's one cat that wasn't fooled. It knew there was something weird going on,
right,
and they were summoning spirits. I had no idea my brother was even into that stuff, but he wanted friends so bad that this guy was staying with us for a few weeks because he was in between places, kind of down on his luck. So we let him stay. And
right.
he was gone, that night. It was
I bet.
bizarre. But that was my first experience or exposure to anything paranormal that I'm aware of.
Mm,
I was probably 17, 18, somewhere in there, maybe 19 or 20. It's bizarre. But, but then I got into the Sasquatch world, and man, in my world with Sasquatch, it's paranormal about every other day. I mean, the things that
right.
they do and say and speak and things like that, you just know that this is real. There's nobody out there. And with my witnesses, a lot of these people in my books are uh, habituation people. They live on property where these Sasquatches
Mhm.
lived with them through generations of their family,
Right.
anywhere from a year to 24 years, going on 25 years. I've got about 7 or 8 properties, and they don't want any publicity. This is how, one of the telling things, this, but,
Yeah.
they don't want anything. They don't want any money. They don't want their names and lights. They don't want their, location obviously divulged or anything like that. They don't want anything. They just want to be able to tell their story to somebody who believes. And
Right.
at least if not, you have an open mind and you will together try to prove or disprove what they have going on. So that's all they want. So these people, bless their hearts, they're going through some really bizarre stuff for the people that are just starting to experience the Sasquatch on their property, interacting with them. And then some have been doing it so long, they were kids when their parents lived on that property. When they got too old to take care of the property, they left and they moved on to the property. And they
Hmm.
had been experiencing this every time they went to grandma and grandpa's house or to their mom and dad's place. So they were aware of it and they knew what to expect and how to act. And so they
Right.
just kind of take up where everybody else, the Sasquatch aren't having to re-educate a whole other family group. They've already been baptized, so to speak,
Hmm.
you know. So that's kind of me in a nutshell, is most of my books are, uh, well, all 3 of my books are true stories. There's theory in there, but there's no hoaxing. There's no, ooh, I got to fill up a chapter. These are all real people with real events. So if you can't
Right.
handle it, don't believe it. I can't help you, but it's
Right.
what's going on with these people. And I've experienced it. I've been to their properties, and some of them are generous enough to let me sit there and experience this stuff with them. I've had my calls and vocals returned to me exactly. It sounds like me talking. And who can do that? Not many
Right.
people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, it is your voice. And so, once you go through all that, I got baptized too. And it's just like, but I was leading that one expedition in Missouri, 2011, 12, 13, somewhere in there. And I watched one disappear in front of my eyes one night on a thermal camera. It didn't know we were there. There's 3 or 4 of us waiting for a lost group of uh, attendees on the expedition. They got lost. They took a wrong turn.
Mm-hmm.
So we're just waiting for them in the dark, trying to be quiet as possible so we could hear them. I had my thermal going. I wasn't recording. And by the way, that's the last time I tried to save battery life by not recording.
Right.
Because had I had this, oh my God, it wasn't Patterson Gimlin, but it was, you know, I see this, we're waiting and I'm scanning the forest through my thermal looking for a heat signature. And I see a big one coming. I'm going, thank God, here they are finally. They finally found us. And well, it wasn't them. It was the Sasquatch. And it came around the corner. We were being quiet enough and it probably had no idea we were there. Yeah, I could tell by the way it vanished. It took one step and somebody heard it. They looked that way. I was looking right at it. And on the second step, boom, it's like a flash bulb went off. That heat signature just vanished and exploded. Boom.
Wow.
And it was gone. And so right then and there, I was like, I'm not high. I'm not drunk. I'm not on any psychotropic drugs. My equipment is FLIR. It's working perfectly. It's state of the art. There's no fallacy involved in what I saw,
Right.
except it just vanished. So I went, well, I got to take a different path. And these guys are all, they're flesh and blood. But the problem with this group, as with many, is that they're hateful and nasty if you believe otherwise.
Mm-hmm.
They're the ones that kind of make fun of you and go, oh, you believe in the woo and all that kind of garbage,
Right.
They're hateful and derisive and just really negative. And that's what's wrong with Sasquatch research, and probably yours too. You get the naysayers
Yep.
that clog the drains everywhere you go. And that's why you're constantly trying to prove yourself or prove that your witnesses are telling the truth. But when I saw that, I went, I am at a fork in the road and I'm going this way because I can't go back that way,
Right.
And I'm glad I did. I'm glad I saw it. And it told me that what I've been hearing and not experiencing up to that point is real stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I was familiar with Ron Moorhead. So Ron wrote the preface to one of my books, and he commented he had commentary throughout the book. I'd heard the Sierra sounds. You've heard those, I would assume, the Ron Moorhead Sierra sounds.
Okay. Yep.
They're talking. I mean, they're talking in, they call it samurai chatter. That's what I call it, And I've used that very chatter on a couple of expeditions at night with groups.
Mm-hmm.
You talk about the forest getting crazy. That changes things. I guess my impression was close enough. But anyway, so when you experience all that, you're going, this is all real stuff. And these people are coming out of the woodwork now, not because of me, but myself and others. You have to have an open mind. Just listen to these people and believe what they say. You can tell from the emotion and that they've been affected for life. And they
Right.
haven't told anybody, or they told another person or two and had it thrown right back in their face. You're nuts. Oh, come on, man. Especially husbands, wives, significant others. They're the ones who give you the most grief. And if they truly are hateful about it or just like so negative, like, honey, just don't talk about that around here. Not in the house. You'll scare the kids. You go quiet for whatever reason. You sit on it
Mhm.
because you don't want to be made fun of, which is what people do. What people,
Yep.
humans are really bad people. We make fun of things we don't understand. So I took the stance. I'm going to listen to everybody, and I get a contact a week, just about. Sometimes a couple from somebody said, "Hey, I heard you on a podcast. I saw one of your books. A friend of mine had your book at home. I started reading through it. I said, I got to talk to this guy, because they have a story to tell, and they've been sitting on it because they can't talk to their spouse or their
Right.
coworkers. People that mean the most to you, and you mean the most to them. They're the ones who give you the most crap because they
Yeah.
can. You know,
Yep.
even if they're kind of kidding. Hey, Russ, tell me about that ghost you saw. Did it kind of remind you of my ex-wife? I'll be here all
Yep.
week. Try the veal. I'll be here all week. Thank you very much. So that kind of stuff. And they're kind of kidding, kind of not, but you're taking it personal because it's a life-changing event. You try to
Yep.
tell somebody you had a life-changing event. What was it? Well, I saw a Sasquatch. Oh, yeah. Okay, right. Yeah. Well, I saw a flying saucer. Didn't change my life. That kind of stuff. So people go
Right.
underground, and there's a whole underground society of people that are having UFO, demonic, Sasquatch, Wendigo, Dogman, Mothman, all kinds of things, and they're driven to silence. It's really sad.
Well, that's like this past weekend we did an investigation. We were dealing with a draconian starseed. First time I've heard of them, but I've never experienced one. I finally got to experience my first one,
And
and we actually captured it on video.
so, what do you do with that when you get that? See, that's the thing. When you get a good photo and things of that nature, what do you do with it? I mean, that still doesn't convince some people that's fake.
Yeah.
You made that up.
Yep. And
You're
I mean the way you look at it in that video, you kind of think it's a human standing there, but my whole team and the team I was working with knows that that person was the only one in the room. Everybody else was accounted for.
wow. Well, so you're surrounded with evidence, but when you show it to on the outside, others, they're going to find a way to poo-poo it.
Oh yeah. You get them skeptics that want to debunk it because they don't believe in that. But if
Yeah.
they
Well,
actually do research on the draconians, they're earthbound creatures. They
mhm.
come from the earth. They smell like dirt, and they're older than the Native Americans, and they can be influenced for good or bad.
Yeah. But still, in the face of that, someone's looking at that, reading it, listening to it, and going, baloney. I mean,
Yeah.
their mind's already
Yep.
made up. You can sit there
Yeah.
talking to them for 2 hours and buy them dinner. They're going, well, thanks for the steak, but boy, you're so full of crap.
Right.
I'm not sure how
Yep.
you do this. It's
That's why I
very,
like taking skeptics with me and making them believers.
yeah. Well, I've done that a few times, not intentionally, but just by the fact of them. Uh, I had this lawyer who came to all three of my expeditions, and he was an avowed skeptic. His wife was going, you don't want to go on these things. You know what's going to happen. They're going to make you see something because you're paying money to see something. So they're going to show you something. They're going to fake something.
Right.
And so he came
Yeah.
in with that attitude. But I appreciated him sharing that conversation with his wife on his first trip. His second trip, he brought his young son, who I think was 5 or 6. And the third one, it was about 2 years later, he was 8 or 9, somewhere in there.
Mhm.
But he had been thoroughly convinced on the second expedition at night because we had a Sasquatch throw a rock out of the dark. We all heard him. There's about 8 or 9 of us in this one group. And we were all standing perfectly still on a trail looking into this stand of trees because we'd heard a big racket. It was pitch black. And we heard them. They were following us as we were leaving the forest. They were trailing us. And as we stopped, because we were just about to the parking lot, we stopped to get one last good sound, sighting, whatever we could. And you heard this grunt and you heard something coming through the trees. Well, it was a rock. And it landed right between me and Mr. Skeptic. It was hilarious. He screamed like a girl. I mean, it was funny, but there's nothing else you could do at that. But he screamed like a girl. It was funny,
Right.
At the very moment, of course, he was scared crapless, And his son, it was not, his son was not amused at all. He was scared, because when you're 8-year-old kid and you're in the middle of the forest at night with no light, twigs are snapping, trees are crashing, and daddy, So he was spooked. But that was his baptism by fire. He was a skeptic until all of a sudden he wasn't. And that's how it happens. You probably have people that all this, I don't believe in this bull. It's not my grandma. It's not a ghost. Yeah. Until it is. Until they say or do something that convinces you that you're not crazy, boy. You're crazy if you don't believe this, because I'm showing you something.
Right.
So I've had many hunters have done the same thing to me, where I've been hunting these woods all my life. And if there was something like that in these woods, I'd have known it. And I'd have seen it in 30 years. I hadn't seen it, so it doesn't exist. Then you get an email or a phone call a couple of weeks, months down the road, a year later. Hey, Carter, can we talk? And they've had that aha moment.
Right.
Told them that there is something out there. Not paranormal Bigfoot, just Sasquatch. Sasquatch exists because he saw it. And he said the same thing I did almost. Well, I wasn't drunk. My gun, my binoculars, my sight on my rifle. I've had so many of them that say, I could have shot it. It looked too human. I couldn't do it.
All right.
So kudos to you for not shooting it.
Yeah.
Because I guarantee you there's probably 2 or 3 others sitting around where that one's at. And you probably wouldn't have gotten out of there alive if you had done that.
Right.
They rarely travel alone. Shaman Sundays, howdy. And Carol Garcia, where was I when I saw that? Which one? I was in Missouri, down near Ellington. If you're talking about the one that disappeared, Ellington, Missouri. One of the spookiest places I know.
Yeah, we're getting ready to go down to Mark Twain National Forest for an investigation.
Yeah, that's it. Ellington's right smack dab in the middle of it. They got a great conservation area there, and they have feed stations. So they feed all the animals, and what it is, they feed every walk of life, from insects to the alpha predators. So these food plots, you cannot hunt on the food plots. They're within, there's got like 40 of them within the conservation area. And so you cannot hunt the food plots, and they got signs all over the place. So, flowering plants for the bees and everything up to the deer and raccoon, every kind of food is out there. So it's a great place to go study wildlife,
I'm sure Sasquatch probably hunts the food plots because I'm sure he probably eats. They eat deer and all sorts of animals.
Oh, he just sitting there going, "Well, this is easy. I'll just wait for him to go up and grab that salt lick. While he's licking that salt, I'm going to go back behind and snap his legs and break his neck, and there's dinner." It's that quick and that simple for them. But it's really intriguing because they do encourage studying of the wildlife. You know,
Mm-hmm.
it is interesting that they do that. You know, in that area, if you go down to Eminence, Missouri, I don't know where you're going, but Eminence
Yeah,
is
we're going to Patterson, Missouri.
okay. I'm not familiar with that one.
That's
Is
on
this
the east part of the Mark Twain National Forest.
okay? Well, yeah, Ellington is on the southeast, and so is uh, Eminence. Eminence is where they brought the elk back to Missouri.
Okay.
There's a place there called Peck's Ranch, and they brought the elk back, and they built some really, really tall fences to keep something out, not to keep the elk in, keep something,
Right.
you know. Of course, if you're a Sasquatch, if it's 50 feet, they'll climb it. I mean, you know, you're not keeping anything out. I think
Right.
they're keeping the big cats and things like that out. But I heard enough stories down there that there was something else out there that really wanted to get to those elk because that feed a family of Sasquatch for a couple weeks easy, you know. So, but it's really intriguing down there. So you'll if you do a lot of work in the Mark Twain Forest, you know, there's a lot of. I wish I could remember the name of this place. There's a cemetery, and it's in one of my books where there's a Civil War era cemetery. All the graves are nothing's older than late 1870s, somewhere like that.
Okay.
And people, generations of families, it's right, it's in the middle of the forest. I mean, you'd never know it's there for a million years unless you knew it was there. You
Mm-hmm.
found it. And then a lot of people come and leave flowers for their long lost relatives many generations ago. A generation is 25 years, so 100 years is 4 generations. So
Right.
you go back to mid 1900s, late 1900s. But if you go back 8 generations, you know, you got Civil War, and it's really cool to have seen that. You know, a lot of them are infants that were died at birth, and
Mm-hmm.
some were soldiers, and everything in between. So it's pretty cool. But that had a lot of paranormal stuff going on there, so we were told by the county sheriff, who got tired of answering calls going out there. The people go out there and decide to hang out at night and burn candles and just sit and enjoy the woods, and all of a sudden they're hearing and seeing things they weren't expecting.
Right.
Stuff does go on. How can you go somewhere, a cemetery, and expect there to be nothing going on? I mean, at night,
Mm-hmm.
you know. So, yeah, but I had enough experiences seeing these things. My wife was a witness with me on one that takes it away from the dumb ape only. You just can't go there anymore, because if you do, you're hitting a brick wall. You're not, if you're really interested in
Right.
the topic, you're not going to learn if that is your base of information. Well, it's just a dumb ape. It's just a, misidentified hominid that's running around. We just haven't categorized it yet. We'll find out. Well, but it's just an ape. Well, it's not. It's just not. And so, and I've got families that have been followed and contacted with for decades, and they're used to it. It's fascinating. Like I said, I've sat on the front porch with one of these families and just had my stuff thrown right back at me. I'm listening to gibberish. I'm listening to conversations. I had a family from Arkansas call me, email me 7, 8 months ago, June or so. Uh, they're listening to 3 Sasquatches and then 2 Sasquatches having a conversation amongst each other.
Oh wow.
I mean, at night, or just all this gibberish, the samurai chant, this gibberish,
Mm-hmm.
like a million miles an hour, and that was their first hint, other than a few structures that they found, that they had something odd going on their property. He had just retired and bought 70 acres out in Arkansas and having the time of his life. And all of a sudden, they got Sasquatch on their property. Been there for years.
Right. Have you gotten any calls for the Momo monster that's out here in Missouri?
No, the Momo monster is just a Sasquatch, basically. My research, and it's not complete, but my research shows it was reported a few times, and then the rumors started flying. Every time somebody heard a twig snap, it was Momo.
Mm-hmm.
It was a Sasquatch. So there was a lot more innuendo. Well, my girlfriend and I were out parking, and we heard this roar. We heard this, something walking on gravel, and we couldn't see anything, and it had to be Momo.
Right.
So, I just, for my purposes, I categorize them as in the Sasquatch family. Although regionally, like if you go to Florida, you've got the smaller, more hostile skunk apes, as they call them, but they're still Sasquatch family. So, but no, I have not had anybody tell me I saw Momo, but I saw Sasquatch. Because it seems like I've read the research. There's a couple of 2 or 3 pretty good reports, and then the rest of it seemed to be, well, it had to be the Momo, because they heard it or felt a presence, where they're parking at midnight in the middle of nowhere, well, your mind's probably not on your surroundings other than the person you're parking with. So you're really not paying that much attention.
Right.
But yeah, Momo's got a good foothold in the history, just like in Arkansas, the Boggy Creek, that's a Sasquatch.
Mm-hmm.
Although artistically it's drawn so that it doesn't really look like your classic Sasquatch.
Right.
The big 9-foot tall. I mean, it looks like a Sasquatch, but it's smaller and more svelte, more slender, but still a powerful being. So it's just a matter of depiction, too, when you see these things drawn. The thing I have a problem with Sasquatch art is that most of it shows them to be a snarling, grimacing, blood dripping from their teeth or saliva, and they're just trying to want to kill you. And I've never, knock on wood, I've never encountered a situation like that ever.
Right.
If they were, even the rock throw, I think was just like I know this guy is a skeptic, so we're going to jack with him. When you voice your skepticism, usually you're the one that gets messed with. That's kind of funny.
Right. Ghosts are the same way too. They know when somebody's a skeptic and don't believe, and they mess with them.
Yeah. And if you're still a skeptic, well, then there's something wrong with you. After all, if you're so convinced of your own belief system or that of others that this doesn't jolt you into go, because if you're a devout skeptic, you're going to find an excuse and a reason for everything. And for people like that, some of those, you just can't convince them.
Right.
I'm not trying to convince anybody. I know this stuff is real. You can buy my witnesses' events and relationships they have with these beings is real or not. Invariably, somebody that reads one of my books goes, that sounds like what happened to Uncle Ralph. Remember, he used to tell us that story, and then he's passed away now. God, he used to tell us this story all the time. We heard something and suddenly people are starting to go, God, I wonder if he was onto something.
Right.
That's how it works, And we've had, since I made contact with a clan or a group in Illinois, that's the last expedition I led, 2019. We have had so much paranormal stuff going on here at our house. Since then, I started a document in 2020 called Strangeness at Home. Right now, it's up to 4 pages of Word. 12-point word typewritten description of weirdness. Some of it I do attribute to the Sasquatch clan because I do know them. They know who I am.
Right.
They know where our house is. And I have a killer story that goes with that. I may just tell that. How long do we have? Are we okay?
Yeah, we still got about 20 minutes yet.
Okay. Okay. Well, I'll make it real short, but this ties into paranormal on steroids. I led this expedition in 2019 in Murfreesboro, Illinois. And that's the home of the Big Muddy. Like Missouri has Momo, they have the Big Muddy. That's what they
Mm-hmm.
call their Sasquatch, going back hundreds and hundreds of years. Anyway, I led this expedition. We had a lot of activity. Since we got 20 minutes, I'll keep it short. But Cliff Notes version. We had a lot of activity, but no sighting. We couldn't get them to communicate. We could feel them following us down this long ravine.
Mm-hmm.
And one of my partner in Harold, who lives in Illinois, he was my partner, but he's had some strokes and cancer, so he couldn't come down this really deep ravine. So he waited for us in the truck, his truck in the parking lot. Well, I took my 4 people down with me, and so they had a great time. We found a bunch of tracks. We cast them all. Everybody got a print. They were all just super joyed. But we never had the interactions I really wanted. But we felt something there. And it turns out this area was the Trail of Tears,
Okay.
where numerous Native Americans lost their life. 94, to be exact, died at this area. When I went to town to scout, I was asking around, hey, where's a good place to look for Sasquatch? Well, I don't know really, but I'll tell you where you don't want to go. That's over here by the power plant. Nobody will go there at night, no matter what. There's too much weird stuff. Nobody will go there. Oh, really? Well, thank you, because that's where I'm going. Because
Right.
you don't tell somebody like you and I, you don't tell somebody that stuff. Well, that house is haunted. Nobody goes there. Where's the first place you're going to go, Russ?
I'm going to that house.
Yeah. So I went. We had a great time. Anyway, I called my buddy Harold. Now we went down there twice, Friday night and Saturday night. Saturday night was in October, was the first day of hunting season. So there was zero activity Saturday night because the hunters were out all day shooting stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but I told Harold, I said, there was a really good vibe to that place. So why don't we go meet? And by this time, COVID had hit. This was March when I talked to him. COVID had just hit. You couldn't go anywhere, do anything. Everything was closed. You know how it was.
Right.
So I called him and said, "No, let's meet down there in October. I want to go back the day of the 365 days. I want to go down on the anniversary of the expedition because there was a certain magic there. I didn't know how much until later. So the next year." We camped at a camping spot in Murfreesboro, about 12 miles away. We went down there. Harold could not make it. He made it part of the way, but couldn't make it all the way because of his physical situation.
Right.
So anyway, but I went all the way down to this. We stopped at a tree trunk. You've got that on the book.
Okay.
At night we stopped at this trunk because it was actually blocking the path. It's pretty tall, so we said, this is a good place to stop. There's one woman there that was getting freaked out, so we didn't. I didn't, want to lose her and have her go running amok into the woods in the middle of the night and never see her again.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, we stopped there. So I went back to that rock, to the log. I said, you know what? I'm gonna leave a camera here, Harold, just to see if I get something. And if I do, great. If not, whatever. You never get one with a trail camera, but you certainly won't get one if you don't leave a trail cam.
Right.
So I left the trail camera. I said, I was going back to Kansas City the next morning. So we'll go back to camp, spend the night, sit there and stare at the fire all night, have a great time. I'll come by and get the camera on the way to Kansas City and If I happen to get something, I'll tell you. So the next morning I get up, I'm heading out, and I go by to this area to get my camera. You see 5 rocks,
Yep.
and on the other end is one short, fat rock, which is Harold, because he's kind of a short, round guy.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking at that. I'm going, these weren't here yesterday. I was here yesterday. And it's COVID. Nobody's out. And we left about 2 in the afternoon. It gets dark around 5:30. So there would have had to been some humans there
Right.
at within that 3-hour time frame and left rocks there. Which just didn't make sense because nobody was out. I mean, nobody goes there anyway. And certainly
Mm-hmm.
nobody was there where we were there. And so I'm looking at that, and all of a sudden it hits me that there's 6 rocks. That 5 rock collection on one end, that's a long, that bigger pointy rock, that's me. The 4 rocks behind it are the 2 couples that I had on that expedition. The short round rock on the other end was Harold, who was there, but he
Mm-hmm.
wasn't there. He was separated from us. And I'm looking at this, and it finally hits me. I'm going, I said a bunch of really nasty words. Oh my God, what? I can't believe this. They made contact. Oh my God. They're communicating with me. Holy crap. I called Harold up, sent him a couple of photos. He was freaking out. Here's the good part. I mean, I knew, and I'm getting the chills when I'm telling this story right now. I called my wife because I was on my way home, and
Mm-hmm.
I told her what happened. She goes, well, that's interesting. What time did this happen last night? I said, well, exactly, I don't know because we were gone, but nobody's out. Well, let me tell you what happened. At our house, 325 miles away, an orb comes into our bedroom while my wife's getting ready for bed, flies around the room a couple of times. It flies in front of the dresser. So she not only sees it in its real form, by
Mm-hmm.
a glowing blue golf ball, she also saw the reflection. So it was not like she was seeing things.
Right.
Where our house sits, it's not cars because we don't get the headlight stuff from cars going by where our house
Mm-hmm.
sits. And it flew into the bathroom and disappeared. It probably the exact same time that they put those rocks out. They know where I live, and they were letting me know that
Mm-hmm.
where I lived. A year later is when I start this document I was talking about. I'm sitting on the sofa watching TV one night, and something goes, taps me on the head 3 times. I look over at my wife real quick. Is that you? Is that me? What do you mean? And she's got her phone in one hand, her Kindle in the other. She's a media mogul. She's always got all her social media stuff. I don't do that. So,
Right.
uh, and since then, I've been shown visions by them of where they live. It looks eerily similar to my research area in Ellington, as it does the area where I found these rocks because they both were long, deep ravines. So that's a tie-in. I could go on and on about the weirdness at the house. I mean, if you want to think of all the kind of poltergeist things, lamps flying off a table, door slamming, disembodied voices, knocks on our bedroom door at night when no one's there, that kind of,
Mm-hmm.
that started with my contact with that clan in Illinois. Now, that we have had some stuff go on in this house before then, like a one off here, 2 off here,
Right.
but nothing. I've got 4 pages I'm adding to it like once every quarter, every year. I'm adding to some weird stuff. I just had something in October that was not related to the Sasquatch, but my whole point is they know where I live, and some of this stuff is them. You know,
Hmm.
orb. You hear all kinds of stories of Sasquatch disappearing into an orb or manifesting from an orb to an
Right.
Same with ghosts and spirits.
Yep.
Same thing. So, the funny thing is, people have been talking about orbs, but that's been the domain of strictly the paranormal, like ghost hunting, stuff like
Right.
you guys specialize in. But now it's crossing the borders, and I don't know if you hear of reports of people seeing a Sasquatch coming from an orb or an orb morphing into a Sasquatch. I don't know if you've seen or heard of that yet,
No, not yet.
but I've heard that on my properties, and they're usually blue or yellow orbs. But I just thought I'd share that because that is something that just I'm surprised. I usually get teary eyed when I start talking about that because that was like a seminal moment in my research, you know.
Right.
So, do you want me to go through any of those photos I sent you, or
Sure.
do you have time to pull them up, or you got something you want to talk about?
I can't pull them up where I'm at. Brandon would have to pull them up
Okay, well,
for us.
just don't worry. We only got 15 minutes. Don't worry about it. We got 12 minutes, looks like. So we're good. So, but that just like your research, Russ, it's real stuff.
Yep.
I mean, it's real stuff. So I know you have skeptics who will deny in the face of a slap in the face that is actually happening.
Yep.
I don't know what that is, but no, that's not grandma. That's not a ghost. That's not my dearly departed son or wife, or I don't know what that is, but that's not. People will just deny it because they can,
Right.
or are so firmly entrenched in their belief system that they don't want to let go. Some people don't want to let go because they're afraid.
I'm wondering if you could get an EMF reading off a Sasquatch.
My wife has one of those. I should take one of those with me. Uh, and there's another piece of equipment. I think Brandon showed me at the last where we met. It puts out that square. Uh, what's the word for it? It's like a wall of.
Okay, laser grid.
Yeah, the grids. Yeah, and
Yep.
so when something breaks that, and you see the stick figures,
Hmm.
that's a good tool. Uh,
See, I've got one of those like I was showing you at the convention, the SLS, and that is a handy tool.
yeah, my thing with using any kind of equipment, because I've started not using much at all because the Sasquatch, they don't like that equipment. They don't like the trail cams and the tree knot. They don't
Right.
like that stuff because it's kind of insulting to them. You know who I am. I know who you are. So why do you keep bringing the equipment? Now, no one said
Hmm.
that to me, but I just get the feeling I don't need to prove it for myself
Right.
anymore. Now, if I take some people out, I might need to, but I explain, like I just explained to you, that you may not see anything because they are not fans of some of our gear,
Right.
especially trail cams. They hate trail cams. You get trail cams where the batteries are suddenly drained overnight, or they
Hmm.
get 12 pictures, deer, 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 blank, 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 and then deer, 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 continuing. Those 4 photos in the middle were taken out.
Right.
How did it malfunction just for those 4 photos and then continue on like nothing had happened? The Sasquatch can interrupt the electrical signal. They don't like those. Sometimes
Yeah.
they'll bang on the tree so hard, or they bang on the box so hard, the trail cam, they knock the batteries out because they know what they are. That's
Yep.
why you don't get anything. Well, except the cover of that one book, you do get them every now and then, like this one here.
Okay.
Now, what do you do with that? That's trail cam. Trail cam
Yep.
photo.
Yeah,
So
and that's hard to debunk because you could tell it's definitely not a bear claw, nothing like that.
no, and if you look at this close, I sent them to you separately.
Yep.
This is the same location, same day. There's 4 seconds between this hand appearing and when the preacher walked by the same camera. 4 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4. He never saw it. He never sensed it. He never heard it. But there it was. So there's some Sasquatch that don't get the memo. Hey, don't walk in front of those boxes with the eyeballs on them. That's human stuff. That's a trap. Don't do that.
Yep.
Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot, Dad. Well, next time's too late because your picture's already on the cover of this book. You stupid some old gun, you know. But
Well,
so
that's like that. That's like that show Mountain Monsters, where they're building traps to try to trap them.
they're watching you build the traps.
Yeah.
They're watching you put up the trail cams. They know. You stupid humans. Okay, let's entertain your ridiculous attempt here. Let's watch you put all this stuff up. And we'll just sit here and we'll trip the camera, but just a little bit so you get a fuzzy something. You think it's a squirrel tail? Was that a squirrel tail? No, it's probably a squirrel tail. That wouldn't
Yep.
be a Sasquatch. It wouldn't be a Sasquatch. No way. It's kind of funny.
Ghosts are the same way too. They got the same intelligence. They see you putting up a camera, like, what's this idiot doing?
Yeah, and they do retain their senses of humor in the afterlife. Sasquatch have a sense of humor. They jack with you all the time. They jack with. They go come up, slap the side of the house, and call your name. I've got a witness family in St. Clair, Missouri. Sasquatch will go out. She's out working in the yard during the day. Her husband's away at work. Sasquatch will call her name in his exact voice.
Mm-hmm.
Done that several times. Where she gets on the phone. Troy, where you at? Are you out here? Are you messing with me? That kind of stuff. I got a lady in Washington, same thing. Husband's away for the day, and she'll hear his name clear as a bell calling her name. Well, I thought he was gone. They live on acreage, so it's entirely
Right.
possible that they came home and didn't know it and stuff. It's their voice. They can mimic anything. So they have a sense of humor. Well, it's just jack with her, and see if she runs
Yep.
in the house and hides, or she sits there and tries to have a conversation, or she grabs her cell phone, wants to know what the hell you're doing. How come you're not at work? So it's funny, but these things happen. I mean, it's nonstop activity for some of the people in my books.
Right.
And I'll show you this photo since we don't have time that I sent it to you.
Okay. That's interesting.
You know what that is? It's a Sasquatch.
Mm-hmm.
My people, South Missouri, grow their own food, and they grow for a farmer's market as well. So they have three, but the two are really long greenhouses, soft,
Right.
rake over the like a Quonset hut.
Mm-hmm.
They have propane heaters they run at night to keep the food from freezing. So you get all that moisture on the inside of the greenhouse. That's a Sasquatch, which they have caught in there numerous times, stealing food,
Mm-hmm.
pressing its face up against the wet plastic, looking to see if anyone's looking so they can get away.
Right.
That Sasquatch there, my guy caught him in the greenhouse as a juvenile. It ran out the front door. He was coming in, it was running out. They brushed up against each other. that close. Could have kissed him.
Oh, wow.
That close. And he's a young kid. I say he's 23, 2, 1, somewhere in there. He's a young kid. And they go in there and eat the food and they fall asleep. They've gorged themselves so much. They fall asleep and you can see their humongous body print on the grass that they let grow in the greenhouse. You know, you see where deer roost, you know, you see the little swirly thing.
Yeah.
Well, it's just 5 times that size. It's the size of a Sasquatch. They've caught them in there. They know they're on their property. They watch them farm and take care of the cats and dogs and mow. They watch them. They see them daily, weekly, monthly, whatever, and they're aware of them. They stand behind the trees and kind of, oh, I wonder what they're doing. Oh, they're burying the cat that just died, you know. And when I was out there, the cat did die and they buried it. And 2 days later, somebody left a wreath of radish tops on the grave, the green leafy radish tops.
Oh, wow.
And that's in the book. So they get intertwined with your family and they feel the things you feel and see the things you see, and they learn about, they're very curious about humans. So I know we got to get going. It's 2 till 9. So
Yep. If anybody wants to get a hold of you, if they have a sighting, how can I get a hold of you?
My email, best way, sqexplorer@gmail.com. Pretty creative, huh? sqexplorer@gmail.com. You can go to my website, which is the same thing, sqexplorer.com, and contact me through that or buy the books or whatever. But if you've got stuff going on and you want confidentiality, I will tell your story and your name will not go out. Your location will not go out. In all my books, all the locations and names are fake because I'm protecting their identity and their property location, you know. And if you think it's a fallacy or just a wild dream that people will come out to your property looking to see a Sasquatch, maybe shoot one and kill it, that does happen. You know, people do. They hear about something and they go, "Oh, let's go drive by the house because you know that's just right down the road from us. Maybe we see a Sasquatch. I hear someone's paying $5 million for a body. Let's go." So, you know, you don't want people coming out there with guns shooting willy-nilly. You know, I mean, you just don't want that. So everybody's information and reputation is safe with me. There's nobody in any of these books that their names are real or the locations. Doesn't matter who it is. Doesn't matter where it is. It's the fact that these events are actually happening. That's
right.
The books, you know. So
yeah, definitely. One of these times, I'd like to tag along with you on one of those expeditions.
Yeah, I'm planning on getting out. I wouldn't call it an expedition, but I'm planning on getting out in March or April, going back down to Ellington. You know, I took COVID off because you just couldn't do much.
Right.
And on top of that, my wife and I did get COVID about a month before my shoulder surgery. So I've just been laid up. It's just like, well, this year sucked as far as my health went. I was like, what the hell? So, but anyway, no, I want to get back out because that's where my roots are. You know, I love putting my spine to the earth and just smelling the smells and feel the feel and smell the smells and hear the sound. It's just, I miss that bad, you know, so I need to get out again. So,
all right. We're at our 9 o'clock hour. I'd like to thank you for joining me, Carter, and definitely keep in touch.
All right. Sorry I had to put you off, but I was
not
feeling good. But yeah, I'd love to come back. But you know, sorry I have to put you off. But you know, I just had to wait.
That's all right.
All this crap was over with. But yeah, no, it was a blast. I love, you know, this Carol Garcia has been kind of paying a lot of attention. She may live out in that neck of the woods.
Yeah.
But you know, if you want to go down to Ellington, it's, I can't remember the name of it, but the conservation area, it's oh gosh, well, you'll know where it is, where all the food plots are.
Yeah.
Current River Conservation Area. That's it.
Okay.
That's a pretty spooky area.
Yeah, it's definitely worth taking a look at. I know my team would be interested in it too.
Yeah. And if I think about it, if you want to send me a message, I'll find you the place. This is more in central Missouri where the sheriff called in a report of one watching him fish. That's where that Civil War era grave is.
Okay.
That you would probably like.
All right.
But just
All right.
just say, hey, send me that location. I'll tell you where it is.
Okay.
So you'll be able to find it, pretty sure. Well,
All
thanks
right.
for having me, Russ. It was a great time.
Yep. Thank you, Carter, and we'll keep in touch.
All righty. Catch you later.
Yep. Take care. Stay humble.